A cold wind cut across the dusty training ground of Fort Halston, slicing through the early morning silence as the sun slowly crawled over the horizon. The recruits stood in formation, their boots planted, breath fogging the air. This wasn't a normal training day. The atmosphere carried a heaviness, something unspoken, something sharp enough to feel. Captain Reed Dalton paced in front of them, his jaw hard as granite, his eyes full of tension he did not try to hide. Today, the base was expecting a special evaluation officer from Joint Command, someone who had been quietly monitoring discipline issues inside Fort Halston. Reed didn't know the details, but he sensed trouble. He always did at the far end of the yard. A black SUV rolled to a slow stop. The door opened, and a woman stepped out, tall, athletic, wearing standard Navy utilities with no unnecessary decoration. Her name was Lieutenant Commander Avery Holt, but no one here knew her reputation. No one here knew her call sign. To them, she was just another officer for inspection. But to anyone in the special warfare community, anyone in the teams, she was Kestrel, a Navy SEAL, one of the few women ever to make it through BUD/S without a single recycle. The kind of operator whose presence usually made entire rooms fall silent. But Fort Halston didn't know that, and unfortunately, the one man she needed to meet, General Marcus Brigg, had a habit of disrespecting absolutely everyone. Avery stepped forward, boots crunching quietly on the gravel. Captain Reed approached and saluted. "Ma'am, welcome to Fort Halston." She returned the salute, her expression calm, unreadable. "Captain Dalton, I'm here to observe today's disciplinary drills." General Brigg requested a combat readiness review. Reed swallowed. If Brigg requested it, that meant one thing. Someone was about to be humiliated. Brigg liked using evaluations as an excuse to assert dominance, especially over junior officers, new recruits, and anyone who didn't bow to him fast enough. Avery stayed composed. "I'd like to see the general as soon as possible." Reed nodded. "Yes, ma'am. I'll take you to him." They walked toward the training hall. The doors swung open, revealing General Marcus Brigg, broad-shouldered, late 50s, and with a face hardened by decades of ego more than experience. He looked up and scoffed the moment he saw Avery. "That's the Inspector Joint Command sent?" His lip curled. "You gotta be kidding me. They sent me her?" Avery didn't react. "General Brigg, I'm Lieutenant Commander Holt, here per your request." Brigg stepped closer, towering over her, trying to intimidate her with sheer bulk. "I asked for someone who actually knows combat, not a paper pusher." Reed opened his mouth, but Avery subtly lifted a hand to stop him. "I assure you, General," she said evenly, "I know combat." He smirked. "Sure you do." With a mocking wave, he motioned her toward the open mat area. "Then why don't we start with a demonstration?" he said loudly. "Let's see what Joint Command calls elite these days." Reed's stomach twisted. Brigg wasn't just arrogant. He was dangerous. He often staged tests to embarrass officers he didn't like. Avery stepped onto the mat. "I'm here to observe the recruits," she reminded him. "Not to spar." Brigg raised his voice. "You're in my house, Lieutenant Commander. If you want to observe my soldiers, you follow my rules." A few recruits looked away awkwardly. They'd seen this before. Avery exhaled slowly. "If this is required for evaluation, then I'll comply." She removed her utility jacket, revealing a tight black undershirt and lean, efficient muscle. "No wasti buck." Every recruit in the room noticed it. Brigg cracked his knuckles and stepped onto the mat. "This won't take long," he said. Reed wanted to speak, wanted to warn him, but knew better. Anything he said would make things worse. The room formed a circle. Brigg stood across from Avery, bouncing on his heels like he was warming up for a boxing match. Avery simply planted her feet, hands loose, stance relaxed. "Ready?" Brigg growled. She gave a single nod. "One more thing," he said loudly, looking around the room. "When I break her, all of you better learn something." Before anyone could register the meaning, Brigg lunged forward, not to spar, but to strike. He slammed his boots sideways into Avery's ribs, full force, yelling as he did, "Get up, you weak Btch." Reed shouted, "General!" That wasn't, but what happened next took less than 3 seconds. Point 1. Avery absorbed the kick, rolling with it rather than resisting. Her body moved with controlled precision. Point two'd. She twisted her torso, hooked Brigg's kicking leg, and spun him off balance with a speed so clean and fast that recruits gasped. Point three as she swept his other leg, pivoted, and in one impossible motion, pinned him face down with his arm bent back at an angle that made even seasoned soldiers flinch. Brigg screamed, a raw, furious sound. "Stop! Stop! Let go! Please stop!" A Navy SEAL didn't need more than a second to dominate an untrained attacker. Avery could break his arm, dislocate his shoulder, or choke him out if she wanted to. Instead, she applied just enough pressure to immobilize him. "General," she said quietly, voice steady but cold, "say release and I will let go." Brigg groaned, humiliated. "Release, release." Avery let him go and stepped back. The room was dead silent. Recruits stared. Reed looked stunned, but relieved. Brigg scrambled to his feet, face red, chest heaving. He looked at Avery with pure hatred, but also fear. You attacked a superior officer," he shouted. Avery didn't blink. "You initiated the attack. Every camera in this hall recorded it. And your kick was not part of any approved military evaluation." Brigg's face twisted. Avery stepped forward just enough to make him involuntarily flinch. "General Brigg," she said clearly, "this base is under immediate review for misconduct and abusive leadership. Effective now." Reed felt every recruit in the hall exhale at once. Some even smiled discreetly. Brigg sputtered, "You don't have the authority. I have full authority," Avery replied. "Your name has been flagged in 4 separate complaints filed by your own officers." The color drained from Brigg's face. Avery continued, "Your pattern of behavior is consistent. Unprovoked violence, targeted humiliation, and misuse of rank. You kicked an officer today with intent to injure. Joint Command will see that footage." Brigg took a step back. Please don't do this," he whispered, voice cracking. "You don't understand. If this gets out, my career, my pension, everything." Avery stayed expressionless. "You should have considered that before calling me a weak Btch and kicking me." He sank to his knees, breathing hard. "Please, Elte, Commander, I'm begging you. Don't ruin me." The recruits couldn't believe what they were seeing. The base's feared general literally begging. Avery glanced at Reed. "Captain Dalton," she said, "you'll take command of Fort Halston until further notice. I'll file the initial report." Reed nodded sharply. "Yes, ma'am." She turned to Brigg. "You'll be removed from this base today. You will surrender your credentials, weapon, and all operational authority. You're not to interact with any active personnel." Brigg's voice was barely a whisper. "Just please." Avery didn't answer him. She simply walked past him, collected her jacket, and addressed the recruits. "You deserve leadership that protects you, not leadership that harms you. That begins today." For a moment, the entire hall was silent. Then a young recruit named Mason Hayes stepped forward, eyes bright with respect. "Ma'am, who are you?" Avery glanced back. "My name is Lieutenant Commander Avery Holt." She paused. "But most people call me Kestrel." A wave of whispers spread through the room. Everyone knew that name. Stories about a Navy SEAL who completed missions no one else could. A SEAL rumored to have saved an entire Marine unit trapped in Syria. A SEAL who survived when half her team didn't. A legend. Reed stared. "Ma'am, why didn't you tell him?" Avery shrugged. "He didn't ask." Reed laughed, and several recruits smiled. Avery motioned toward the exit. "We have work to do. Today's evaluation isn't about him. It's about all of you." The recruits straightened instantly. Avery walked to the center of the hall again, this time with calm authority. "Listen up," she said. "Training at Fort Halston is changing right now. From today on, every one of you will learn discipline, respect, and real combat skills. Not fear, not humiliation." Reed stepped beside her. "If you want to be great soldiers, this is your chance." Avery added, "And before we begin, one more thing." She looked directly at the camera above the mat, because she knew her message would be clipped, shared, and eventually seen all over the world. To everyone watching, including those online, the channel is called Grow for Justice. Her voice softened, but held power. If you believe in standing up to abuse, injustice, and corruption, then hit subscribe. Share your voice. And tell me, where are you watching from? Drop it in the comments. Recruits around her exchanged impressed looks. Training began. Avery moved like a shadow, teaching them how to stand, strike, defend, and think under pressure. She corrected their form gently, encouraged them, built them up, everything Brigg never did. Hours passed by midday. The atmosphere of Fort Halston felt different, lighter, energized. Brigg was escorted off base by military police. Avery submitted her preliminary report, and for the first time in years, the soldiers felt like they had a leader they could trust. When the sun began to set, Reed approached her. "Ma'am," he said, "you saved this place today." Avery shook her head. "No, they saved themselves. I just gave them permission to believe they could." He smiled. "Still, hell of a day." Avery looked toward the training ground where recruits were still practicing the techniques she showed them. "Tomorrow," she said, "we start again. Real soldiers aren't built in a day." She took a long breath. The cold wind blew once more, brushing her face, carrying with it the feeling of change. Fort Halston would never be the same, and neither would anyone who witnessed what happened in that hall. Because they all learned something important. A woman doesn't need to prove strength to someone who is afraid of it, and anyone who tries to break her will end up begging for mercy, just like General Marcus Brigg did.